You didn't fail, you returned. That's the difference. Because failure feels final. It feels like something broke. But this is something else. You started. You changed your routine. You showed up differently. You proved to yourself that you could move. And then you drifted. Not in one moment. Not in a way you could point to and say, that's where it ended. It was quieter than that. You loosened. You allowed something small. You told yourself it didn't matter. And it didn't. At least not immediately. But it opened something. A familiar path. And once that path is open, you don't have to choose it consciously. You just follow it. And that's when it hits you. You're back. Same habits, same patterns, same version of yourself you thought you had already left behind. So now the question isn't, why can't I change? You already proved you can. The real question is, why do I always come back? And that question is harder because it points somewhere deeper, somewhere less comfortable. Most people answer it too quickly. They say, I lost motivation. I got busy. I just need to be more disciplined. But none of that explains the pattern, because this isn't random. You don't fall back occasionally, you fall back predictably. And anything predictable has a structure behind it. That's what you're missing. Not effort, not discipline, structure. You didn't return to your old habits because you forgot what you were doing. You returned because your system was never changed, only your behavior was. And behavior by itself is temporary. It's surface level. It can be pushed, forced, sustained for a while. But underneath it, something else remains unchanged. And that something is patient. It doesn't resist you directly. It waits. You can act differently for days, weeks, even months. But the moment your attention drops, it takes over again. Not aggressively, quietly. Like something slipping back into place. And that's when you realize you didn't eliminate the pattern. You stepped away from it. There's a phase no one talks about. It happens after the excitement fades, after the initial discipline, after the visible progress. It's not dramatic, it's neutral. You stop feeling the intensity, you stop feeling the urgency, you stop feeling like something is at stake. And in that moment, you relax, just slightly, just enough. You stop watching yourself as closely. You allow small exceptions. You start negotiating again. And negotiation is where the return begins. Because the old pattern doesn't need full permission. It just needs a gap, a moment where you stop holding the line. That's all it takes. The Stoics understood this better than most modern systems. They didn't focus on intensity. They focused on vigilance, not emotional intensity, not bursts of motivation, but constant awareness. Because they understood something that most people still ignore. You don't fall when things are hard. You fall when things become easy. That's where discipline is actually tested. Not in resistance, in comfort. Because comfort removes pressure. And without pressure, you reveal your default. And your default is not what you say you want. It's what you've practiced the most. And that's the problem. You didn't just practice your new behavior. You spent years practicing the old one. Thousands of repetitions, thousands of confirmations. Every time you avoided something, you reinforced it. Every time you chose comfort, you strengthened it. Every time you delayed action, you made it easier to do it again. That pattern didn't disappear just because you decided to change. It remained intact, waiting. And when your attention drops, it becomes active again. Not because you're weak, because it's trained. That's the part most people misunderstand. They think change is about adding something new. New habits, new routines, new systems. But real change is about removing something old. And removing is harder. Because what you're trying to remove is not just behavior, it's familiarity, it's comfort, it's identity. And identity doesn't let go easily. Because identity is not just how you see yourself, it's how you explain yourself. It's the story that makes your past make sense. And if that story changes, everything changes. The Stoics approached this differently. They didn't try to feel different. They didn't try to become someone else emotionally. They examined what they were allowing, what they were agreeing with. Because every time you act, you are agreeing with something. A thought, a feeling, an impulse. And most of the time, you don't question it. You accept it, automatically. That's what Epictetus called assent. The moment where something appears in your mind and you treat it as true, without examination, without resistance, without awareness. And that moment is everything. Because once you accept the thought, the action follows. You don't fall back into habits. You fall back into unexamined thoughts. And those thoughts feel familiar. They feel like you. This is just who I am. I need this right now. I'll go back to it later. Those aren't facts, they're impressions, and you keep accepting them. That's the pattern, not the behavior, the agreement. Modern psychology explains part of this. It tells you that your brain reinforces what you repeat, that it prefers what is familiar, that it builds pathways based on behavior. All true, but incomplete, because it doesn't answer the real question. Why do you keep choosing what you know is not good for you? The answer is not lack of discipline, it's lack of interruption. You don't interrupt the thought. You don't pause. You don't question it. You accept it. And once it's accepted, the action feels inevitable. But it isn't. It just feels that way. Because you didn't stop it early enough. That's the difference. Not strength, timing. You're trying to fight the habit too late, when it's already in motion, when the decision is already made. But the real decision happened earlier. In the moment you said, "This is fine. That doesn't matter. I'll fix it later." That was the moment, and you missed it again. Because you weren't paying attention. That's where the return actually happens. Not in the action, in the permission. And that's uncomfortable to accept, because it removes the excuse. It means you're not being pulled back. You're allowing it, quietly, repeatedly. And that brings you to something deeper, something most people avoid completely. You don't just return to habits, you return to who you believe you are. And that belief is stronger than your intention. You can want to change, you can act differently, you can build new routines. But if your internal definition stays the same, you will always come back. Because your behavior will eventually align with your identity. Not your goals, your identity. That's why temporary change is easy, sustained change is rare. Because temporary change only requires effort. Sustained change requires identity shift. And identity is protected, not by logic, by emotion, by familiarity, by the need to remain consistent with yourself, even if that consistency keeps you stuck. That's why people relapse into patterns they hate, because those patterns still match who they believe they are. And breaking that requires something most people avoid. Confrontation, not external, internal. You have to look at yourself and admit, the version of me that keeps returning is still active. You didn't eliminate it. You didn't replace it. You just suppressed it temporarily. And suppression doesn't last. It builds pressure until it releases. And when it does, you're back where you started. That's why discipline feels like it disappears. Because it was never stable. It was effort-based, not identity-based. And effort runs out. Identity doesn't. So the solution is not more effort. It's more clarity. You have to redefine what is acceptable. Not based on mood, not based on energy, but based on standard. You stop asking, do I feel like doing this? And you start asking, is this aligned with who I am now? And if the answer is no, you don't negotiate. You act, not because it feels right, but because it is right. That's the shift. And it sounds simple, but it removes something most people rely on: excuses. Because once your standard is clear, your behavior becomes obvious. There's no debate, no delay, no later, just action. And action, repeated consistently, changes identity. Not instantly, but inevitably. But there is something else, something that still causes people to fall back, even after they understand all of this, even after they start applying it. And it's subtle. It's not about discipline. It's not about awareness. It's about something deeper, something most people never question, even when they think they're doing everything right. And until you see it, you'll keep rebuilding the same cycle. Again, and again, and again.